The reason you feel broke, even with a good salary, it's not what you think. Jessica makes $78,000 a year. That's more than 65% of American workers. That's a number her younger self would have considered made-it money. That's the salary she dreamed about when she was working retail for $12 an hour, doing the math on whether she could afford new tires. Jessica opened her banking app last Tuesday. $340. That's what was left in checking, 5 days before payday. She sat there for a minute, genuinely confused, not panicked, confused, like there was a math error somewhere. Because $78,000 a year is supposed to feel like something. It's supposed to feel like enough. It doesn't. And here's what makes this genuinely strange. Jessica isn't doing anything wrong. She's not buying designer bags. She's not eating out every night. She doesn't have a gambling problem or a secret shopping addiction. She has a one-bedroom apartment, a 2019 Honda, she meal preps on Sundays, and she has exactly one streaming subscription. By every metric anyone would use to judge whether someone is responsible, Jessica passes. And she still has $340 in checking with 5 days to go. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever made more money than you used to and somehow feel like you have less breathing room than before, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. According to a 2025 Lending Club report, a majority of Americans earning over $100,000 report living paycheck to paycheck. Read that again. 6 figures, paycheck to paycheck. My name is Jonas, and today we're going to talk about why this happens, and it's not the reason you think. It's not you're bad with money. It's not you need to budget better. It's something almost nobody explains correctly, and once you see it, you'll never look at your paycheck the same way again. Let's start with what actually happened to Jessica over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, Jessica made $48,000. She lived with 2 roommates in a slightly run-down apartment. She drove a 2009 Corolla with a check engine light that came on intermittently and that she learned to ignore. She cooked almost every meal at home because eating out felt like a luxury. She had one credit card with a $1,500 limit that she was terrified of maxing out. On $48,000, Jessica's monthly expenses were roughly $3,200. Today, Jessica makes $78,000. That's a $30,000 raise over 5 years, a genuinely significant increase, nearly 63% more income. But here's what also happened during those 5 years. She moved into her own one-bedroom apartment because at her age, with her income, living with roommates started to feel like something she shouldn't have to do anymore. Rent went from $650, her share, to $1,650, the whole apartment, alone. That's a $1,000 increase. She got the Honda because the Corolla finally died, and since I'm buying a car anyway, might as well get something nicer. Car payment went from $0, paid off Corolla, to $420 a month. She started getting her nails done every 2 weeks. Small thing, $65 every 2 weeks, about $130 a month. She didn't do this before because $65 felt like too much. Now it doesn't. She upgraded her phone plan, her gym membership, her grocery budget, organic produce, better cuts of meat, her wardrobe, work clothes appropriate for her new role, and her apartment's furniture, real furniture instead of hand-me-downs and IKEA basics from college. None of these decisions individually seem unreasonable. In fact, every single one of them seems like a normal, earned upgrade for someone making significantly more money. Here's the math. Jessica's monthly expenses went from $3,200 to $5,950. That's a $2,750 increase in monthly spending. Her income increased by $30,000 a year. That's $2,500 a month before taxes, or roughly $1,875 after taxes. Her spending increased by $2,750 a month. Jessica's spending grew faster than her income. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it has a very specific psychological mechanism behind it that almost nobody explains correctly. Here's the part that nobody tells you, and it's the actual answer to why you feel broke even with a good salary. Your brain doesn't experience your income, it experiences your baseline. And your baseline resets automatically, unconsciously, almost immediately to whatever your current circumstances are. This is called hedonic adaptation, and it's one of the most well-documented phenomena in behavioral psychology. Here's how it works in practice. When Jessica made $48,000 and lived with roommates, having her own space felt like a dream. The idea of a one-bedroom apartment alone with her own bathroom, that felt like luxury, like made-it status. The moment she actually got the one-bedroom apartment, here's what happened to her brain. Within about 6 to 8 weeks, this is the typical adaptation window researchers find, the one-bedroom apartment stopped feeling like luxury. It became her baseline. It became normal. It became what I have, which is just my apartment. The luxury feeling evaporated. But here's the critical part. The cost didn't evaporate. The $1,650 a month rent is still $1,650 a month rent forever, every month. The luxury feeling lasted 6 to 8 weeks. The cost is permanent. This is the mechanism. This is the thing. Every upgrade you make, bigger apartment, nicer car, more expensive subscriptions, better restaurants, gives you a temporary spike in satisfaction that lasts roughly 6 to 8 weeks. Then your brain adapts. The new thing becomes the new normal. The satisfaction returns to baseline. But the cost of that upgrade doesn't return to baseline. It's now permanently embedded in your monthly expenses. So you're left with the same baseline level of satisfaction you had before, but now it costs $2,750 more per month to maintain it. This is why Jessica feels broke. Not because she's bad with money, because her brain reset to normal at a cost level that consumes almost her entire raise. There's a second mechanism that compounds this, and it's specific to people in Jessica's situation. People who got a meaningful raise and moved into a new social professional tier. When Jessica made $48,000, her reference group, the people she compared herself to, was other people making roughly $40,000 to $55,000. Friends from her old job, roommates, people at similar life stages. Within that reference group, Jessica's $48,000, which is genuinely a great salary, better than the majority of Americans, felt fine, maybe even slightly above average. She didn't feel behind. When Jessica got promoted and started making $78,000, something subtle happened. Her professional reference group shifted. She's now in meetings with people making $90,000, $110,000, $130,000. She's invited to things, work dinners, team events, casual Friday drinks, where the default spending level assumes a higher income than hers. Suddenly, Jessica's $78,000, which is genuinely a great salary, better than the majority of Americans, feels like she's the poor one in the room. This is called the reference group effect, and it's been studied extensively in economics. A famous study found that people would rather earn $50,000 in a world where everyone else earns $25,000 than earn $100,000 in a world where everyone else earns $250,000, even though the second scenario means twice as much actual purchasing power. We don't experience income in absolute terms. We experience it relative to the people around us. And here's the trap. As you make more money, your social circle tends to shift toward people who also make more money, which means your reference group keeps moving up just as fast or faster than your income. You're running on a treadmill that speeds up every time you run faster. Jessica isn't comparing herself to the version of herself that made $48,000 anymore. She's comparing herself to her new colleague who just bought a house, or a friend from grad school who just made partner, or the Instagram feed of someone she went to college with who's now living her best life in a city with twice the cost of living. Against those benchmarks, $78,000 feels small, even though in absolute terms, $78,000 puts Jessica in the top third of American earners. Here's the third mechanism, and this one is the most psychologically sneaky. When Jessica got her raise, a specific thought pattern activated, one that almost everyone experiences and almost nobody questions: the "I deserve this now" thought pattern. I just got promoted. I work really hard. I deserve a nicer apartment. I've been driving that old car for years. I deserve something reliable and nice. I'm an adult with a real job now. I deserve to get my nails done without stressing about it. Here's what's interesting about this thought pattern. Every individual instance of it feels true, and honestly, it often is true in isolation.